Cool. So, I watched Mandy yesterday with Nicolas Cage. Have you seen that yet? It's really weird. So that's where I got the inspiration for this car from. It's actually got loads of Nicolas Cages in the background, but you can't see him, which is a shame. And so I didn't know what to do title-wise, because basically the whole point of this was to round up kind of company strategy, the quarterly strategy, the product, what the board kind of presentation was like. I know you guys haven't seen that yet. The workshop I did, and so how that works with the squad. And then I thought, well, it's probably like a talk for core as well, so hence the title is all over the place. Right, so let's go forward again. Sweet. So basically, it looks like this. The company vision and the quarterly kickoff vision feed into the product strategy, which has been kind of solidified with the board meeting, I think, and it's helped. The workshop has helped shape how we might go about doing that. So that's good. And basically, how it feeds into the squad, it will feed into our V2 Moms and charter, basically. So how we work and all that kind of stuff, and the roadmap. So it will help with the roadmap eventually. So I've got it from Let's Talk Product, which we present to the board, Roadmaps Relaunch, which is Brucey, who we saw the other day in the workshop. We've not met yet, but great guy. And then, sadly for you, the next bit is all out of my head, so not so great, the next bit. I didn't know how to get the thing up so that I can keep little thumbnails like that.
It's such a weird brain.
So it's definitely not my brain. We should say hello to Rebecca and Chadley as well, because they're probably watching. So, what does Bruce talk about? So this is from the workshop. I'll try and explain parts that are from the workshop and parts that are from every other sort of bit that I've got together and glued all together. So he talks about 5 primary components as far as product goes. So I thought it was a good idea to use these 5 primary components to like hang the talk off, basically. Before we get onto that though, this is the company strategy or company vision. So we are building the world's best discovery tools for crafting better human experiences. Has everyone seen that? Or seen our form of it? As we are at the workshop, it does want to change kind of thing, as in it changes very often because we're all about words and all about research, so it changes naturally. This is the most up-to-date one that we've got at the moment. So this is what we're working for until March, basically. Next, product vision. Bruce summed it up in this way: it's how a specific customer will benefit from your product when it's fully realised and ubiquitous. We kind of work off a different template. Do you know what ubiquitous means? I can't even say it. Do you know what that means?
No.
So ubiquitous means
I was trying to make sense of it.
when it's spread, basically. So when it's fully realised and when it's, I suppose, when it's got critical mass in the marketplace. So when it is, how you would talk about Apple and established, yeah, basically, yeah. So our product vision, or rather, let's go back to the template. So the way Andy's worked is from this. This is a product vision template that's years old, basically. So the way you would do it is you would imagine a perfect world and why your product has helped with that perfect world. What Bruce did is he trimmed that down. Oh yeah, on some of them as well, you'll see this. This is because in Bruce's book, he uses a garden hose company as an example of a company, just so it's just a company that everyone can get their head around. So if you see things like this is relating back to that company. Don't worry too much about that at the moment, just worry more about the kind of main thrust of what the slides are showing. Let's just go back here so we can see where we're going. And so what he kind of waters it down to is these 3 things. So we basically worked in the workshop. We worked on doing this for Optimal, or part of the Optimal kind of suite, basically. Andy has been working on product vision for a long time, and it's taken loads of different forms. Has anybody seen any kind of his product vision statements? So I think me and you may have seen that last one that he had, giving people the insight to make decisions with confidence.
Yeah.
So he has since moved away from that, and we are now in Imagine a World, so that whole Imagine a World, that kind of thing, like an advert, where design decisions are always well informed. So I think the reason that he's moved to this is because insight's too vague, and he wants to move away from defining the kind of customer area in a product sense and allow us to do that as we work through the kind of problem statements, if you like, so the kind of segments of people that we're going to be working with. So that neatly brings us on to business objectives. So second of those five things that Bruce talks about is this. So basically, what's measurably different for your organisation after you've achieved this objective, basically. We call it something else. Does anybody know what we call it in Quantum? Because we like hats, for instance, for responsibilities. We like calling things different things, don't we? So it's actually our strategic priorities. So if we draw a line through that, we basically get it as business objectives, which is what Bruce would call it. I don't mind what we call it as long as we're all aligned and know exactly what it means. So if we go back to the way Optimum talk about it, they talk about it as strategic priorities. So do you remember this is from the quarterly kickoff. So does everyone remember this, or vague kind of thing? So what out of that do you think is directly relational to what we can do in core? Just pick any of those numbers.
I think the first one would be maybe yes.
Okay.
Like one.
So the second one definitely, I think. Why do you think the first one just happened?
Oh, just like to kind of adapt to what's out there and change things to make it like more effective.
Okay, cool. I think the first one's actually talking about us as an organisation ourselves. So I think although we have to do that, that's really important. I think the first one is the practice coaching and how we're working in squads and all that kind of stuff. So I think
it's not to do with it.
It relates to us, but it's not relational to the work that we produce, I don't think. So 2, I think definitely we can all get behind that, can't we? That we're building the product suite. Any others?
4. I think 3 and 4 both indirectly come out of the product improvements that we make.
Yeah.
Like the better products we make, the more the sales team can sell it, hopefully.
Yeah.
Like it's not our responsibility, but we figure into it.
Yeah, I think you're bang on. I think so. 3 hopefully will have an effect by us helping 4, basically. So we can make, we basically 4 is under our control. 3 we can't control. We can make the best product ever, but 3 we can't. Sales team do a great job anyway, but we can't make them do things or tell them to do things that they work how they want to work. So it will happen because we are making a better product, hopefully. So, and 5.
I'm not sure what outposts mean.
Yeah, so outpost just means that we have representation in other countries.
Oh,
So
okay.
basically an established outpost, what Andrew means by that is that Paddy working in Ireland, he's established because he's working out of a co-working space. We've got an established foothold there.
Yeah.
I think it's basically our European headquarters is in
Right.
Ireland. So I think for tax purposes and all that kind of stuff we're established. So I think what Andrew's saying now is we need to establish more. Does everybody know where we're trying to target?
Yeah, America.
Yep. So we're definitely employing more people in America first, I think, and then I think Paddy's getting someone else to help him in Europe as well. So sort of both places, but America's our main target, and then Europe is the one after that.
That will just be like customer success to start with, not the product team won't be giving a representation over there.
That's correct, yeah. So customer success to begin with. I imagine probably eventually sales will probably be another person getting a foothold over there, and then after that might be aspects of the product. We might, researchers might go over and do research with big companies and stuff. I mean, we do that already, so I can see that happening. So, cool, sweet. Next. So I identified 2 of those strategic priorities as things that we can work with. So first, build a product suite ready for UX teams of the future. So this again is obviously written from the quarterly kickoff. So let's break it down. Build a product suite. So when we were in the in the board meeting the other day, we had to say to the board where we were with the products, basically, where we were up to. And what we presented to them was this, which you probably haven't seen yet, I imagine. So we defined it as two different areas. First is information architecture, and the second I'll show you in a second, which is qualitative research. So basically what we did, the way this works is, it's based on a number of bits of research that we conducted into reports. User testing, there was a user testing 2017 report that told us a bit about this, and also a kind of Gardner report, which told us about the kind of future of user research, if you like. And then we kind of, as an amalgamation of this, we got the competitors in each space. So what you can see here basically is that where we call it where we play. I hate it. It's really like business things. Where we play is are in areas that are either the frequency is infrequent, the duration is short for a lot of our IA tools. Ignore refrain for a set, but if we concentrate on the ones that we're responsible for. So optimal sort, you can see that although there's not many competitors, people are only going to be doing it infrequently for a short amount of time. So that hop on, hop off behaviour is going to continue because that's how people are using it. It's the same with Chalkmark, even though we've only got one competitor that we can identify, there might be others actually, they're only going to use it infrequently for short amounts of time. So we can make Chalkmark as good as we like, but if it's only going to do that one task, then it kind of falls flat on a lot of the kind of business objectives, if you like, or their strategic goals. And again, same with TreeJack. So although we're kind of, I suppose with Optimal Sort mainly, and TreeJack a little bit, we're like incumbent in the market. We are the one that people go to because they know that it's where you go to get the best tool, if you like, for the job. So the other thing that we saw was that there's actually bits of the process that people do in information architecture where the more qualitative areas is a place where we could expand into. So people are doing a lot of user interviews, for instance, before they go off and complete this work. So it then leads us to think, well, how can we maybe get a refrainer to maybe feed in or overarch, or we started thinking along those lines at that point. All these presentations I'll share with you in their full unabridged form as well. It's just, I thought I'd take you through my thought processes approaching them basically. So yeah, don't worry too much at the moment if you're not taking it all in. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Let's just go to the next one. So go back. So yeah, qualitative research. So it just so happens that we've been given questions to work with rather at the moment, and it's sort of staying with us. It would technically probably make more sense for the Reframer team or the qualitative research team to look after that because it's a qualitative tool. It's just because it's part of the core offering at the moment. You can see, for example, surveys, although they're conducted very frequently, only a short amount of duration, and look at all the competitors that we've got in that area. So if we want to start spreading out and seeing what else we can do, we need to look at different areas of focus for what the tools can do. Is that a new tool? Is it something we add on to the tool? It's their questions up for debate basically. But I think it's good to see it from this point of perspective, because it gives us a kind of holistic bird's eye view of what's going on, as opposed to us just getting caught up with, well, let's do this in questions, let's do that, let's do that, let's do the other kind of thing. So that's led me on to, so that's from the board meeting that we've had. My brain now comes into play, and what I start thinking is things along, so do we allow the tools to analyse multiple studies? If people are only doing short studies for a short amount of time, but maybe they do a few in a row, do we allow people to maybe compare optimal sort results against one another, and then come up with a kind of perfected version of whatever they're after, a taxonomy or whatever? Do we start working along them sort of lines? Don't know. It's a question that we need, we could answer, and I'm sure you guys will have hundreds of other kind of ideas for stuff that we can test and experiment with and see, where we should go with it. Another thought is, and that's a thought that we've had a lot here, is do we get the suite to cross-pollinate? So do we get optimal sort to talk to TreeJack? Is there an IA builder? Is there, right, you've come up with this taxonomy, now you can test it again. And tell you what, you can benchmark that against the first tree test that you did. Those kind of things. Do we start, kind of working in them kind of ways? Who knows? So that's the first part of that. If we go to the next part, which is, so that's build a product suite. So we're getting there, and luckily we've been given the set of, or the product that's most established and mature, which means that in some ways we've got an easier job when it comes to building stuff, a bit of a harder job when we're looking for that different competitive advantage, if you like, because we've got to find it from, kind of a solid base, if you like. It's easier if you're new into the market and you can move quicker. We've actually got to take care of all the people that have come with us up to this point, if you like. So next bit, ready for UX teams. Again, quarterly kickoff. This was from the board meeting, and what this is showing you is basically how a research project kind of pans out, if you like, how it works, how it goes from one stage to another. And what you can see here in the coloured bars, it took me ages to try and understand what it was showing here, but what you can see in the coloured bars is the bits that we do now, basically. So these are the bits that we help with. So create participant screen and recruit participants, run research, capture information, review notes and analysis. And it's all very kind of, what would you say, it's all very operational kind of stuff. It's actually conducting the research, as opposed to a lot of this kind of more strategic kind of stuff, I suppose you would call it. So where you're identifying a need. So if you were initiating a research project, can you think of any of our tools that would help you identify a need? Any that we've got today?
Maybe Reframer?
And how would you use Reframe to identify a need?
From the interviews.
Yeah, so you could conduct a user interview using Reframer, and that would give you maybe themes that you would want to then go forward and work on in the other tools. And so what we're seeing here is there's plenty of space where we can actually help the whole of a kind of project, as opposed to just specific points using our tools. So there's bits where we do a little bit, but we're not doing a lot, basically. And so they see that as a major kind of, or product, Andy, Andrew, Kat as well, see it as a major place where we can explore and see if we can add value in those other areas. So that might give us a helping hand as to decide what to do outside of what we're already working on. So, and again, don't worry about taking this all in, because I will share it with you. And then you can ask as many questions as you like. So, next bit. Here we go, yes, I did do that. So basically, just as I've explained, that's a research project, and then a research activity is what we're working on at the moment. So activity would relate to the tools and things we do with the tools. Optimal sort, comparing optimal sorts across time might be something we do with the tools. And then research activity, it's also those things that fall outside. So they're obviously the bigger kind of projects that we haven't really started exploring yet, I would suggest. Right. So last bit for that one. Andrew insists on writing future in italics, so of the future, I think is what he means there. Which brings me nicely on to time, basically. Has everyone seen this before? So this again is from Bruce's talk. I'd seen it before, but he actually made it make a lot more sense for me, which was cool. So basically what these three horizons are is he talked to a product manager, I can't remember her name, sorry, talked to a product manager, and she identified that they were working on making their product really good, but then they folded after a few years because it basically got to a point where they were just micro-optimizing, and they didn't feel like they had time to do the kind of bigger vision pieces, basically. And what they then did is when she was in a new role, she decided that although she was going to carry on working on the main piece, she was going to get these different horizons. So she was going to make sure that they could nurture the next step, if you like. So basically, if you think of it, it's kind of what you know now, what you're in discovery phase of, and stuff that you're kind of like, you know, do they call it blue sky thinking kind of stuff? What do business people say? I don't know. I'll have to get better at that kind of thing. So it's just a nice way to think of it, 3 horizons that you happen to be working across. So if you looked at it in reference to that strategic kind of priority, build a product suite, that's what we're doing now, and we can, you know, I know we're tidying up at the moment, but we can easily switch our mind to how would an optimal sort work against an optimal sort, how would optimal sort go into TreeJack, that kind of thing. Ready for UX teams, that's where that project piece sort of fits in, and then of the future, who knows, that's what we need to keep researching as we go along, basically. So for me, it's quite a nice kind of way of looking at it, basically. So I might use that quite a bit actually going forward for how we talk about more strategic kind of stuff. And like I say, it fits in quite nicely. We had Bruce in his workshop talk about timeframes. So we looked at product vision, looked at business objectives. This fits nicely with timeframes. What he said in his talk, the main thrust of it was, don't give set timelines and roadmaps, because what happens is you just set yourself up for failure. You either deliver something that you said you would, but nobody wants anymore because you've done your research, but you said you were going to deliver it, so you deliver it, or the other way around, you miss the deadline and then you let everyone down. So it's a hiding to nothing, basically. You're setting yourself up for failure. So this was part of the thrust of the workshop, is to get into the mindset that the roadmap is a living document, which I really, really like. I really like his idea for turning it into this. So this is one way of doing it. So the way you do it is you work in now, next, and later. And now, next, and later is relative. It's just relative to whatever you happen to be talking about that particular time. So like it says here, it could be quarters. It could also be how we talk about this. So how we talk about this kind of horizon kind of things. We're working on this now. For us, that's this quarter. Next might be the next quarter. Later might be the quarter after that. So it just depends what we're talking. You can talk about it in sprints. Now, next, later. It's a relative kind of measurement, I suppose. So if we move on to the next one, which is improve. So I identified 4, which was improve customer retention and increase usage is something that we could look at handling. So I'm going to look at and increase usage first. That to me is getting the basics right across all the tools, as far as I'm concerned. So this is at my head, this isn't from any presentation, this is me just riffing on what I've been looking at. So make sure optimal sort is up to scratch, make sure TreeJack is, make sure Chalkmark is, make sure questions is. With that in mind, let's play a game. Scorecard. If you were going to give our products a scorecard or a score from A to F, A being the best, as in they've passed their exam, A+, and F being the worst, what would you do? I've done it on the next slide, so just to make, you know, I'm being perfectly open with it. What do you want to do individually, or do you want to just come up with what you think?
I think questions is probably F.
Yeah, me too. I would give questions.
Okay.
I think like an E, like it works.
So we've got F for questions, yeah.
I think optimal sort, I think it has a lot of potential and lots of people know it, so I would give it a B.
Okay.
Yeah, but people find it quite
Clunky.
hard to kind of get the value out of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe a C.
TreeJack.
No, the B.
Yeah.
B. TreeJack I think is like an A.
Ooh.
Yeah, but design-wise, I feel like it's still not accessible for everyone.
Yeah, but people love the pie.
Yeah, it's true.
Largely. So A minus.
I guess A. Yeah.
And Chalkmark.
Chalkmark,
He tries.
it's cool. It's such a cool tool.
I think so. Some of the heat maps and stuff are pretty
Yeah.
easy to use and valuable with them. But
Yeah.
it's quite small in what it does compared to the other two, like the amount of analysis in it.
And it almost feels disconnected from the other ones. Maybe a little bit.
So
I don't know.
he's the outsider. He doesn't do very much.
Yeah.
What should we give him?
But I think like in terms of getting the basics,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
It's
good.
like
First,
really
I
yeah.
think it's, I'll give it an A.
You give it an A. Mila.
She loves it.
So I give it this.
A D.
E minus, yeah. Ratios.
So we're kind of in the same sort of, I mean obviously this is just plucking figures out of the air, so it's not, but it's just good to see how we all feel about all the different tools and what kind of stage they're at. Me, optimal sort, because it's the one in the market that everyone goes to, that's why I also give it I bumped it up a little bit. So you guys give them a B, I give them an A minus. Tree Jack, B plus, yeah, but it's not as, everyone loves like PyTree, but it's not as polished as we would like, I don't think. Chalk mark D, because yeah, he does it very well, but he doesn't do very much. He's a bit lazy, so I'll give him a D. And questions E minus, because yeah, it's just
Daily works.
they're basically off getting stoned every lunchtime and not doing much work. So yeah.
So they gave optimal sort a B. Is that like an indication that the squad is tired of working on optimal?
You should have all given him a higher score when we would start working. He's A plus. He's great. He's wonderful.
He's all good.
He doesn't need any work. So I just thought it was quite a nice thing to do, just to see where we were at in our head, really. So next, flipping over to the board meeting again. The board wanted to know that we were confident there's a market for what we're building. So there was lots of different ways of looking at this. Some typical marketing ways, what's your verticals, all that kind of stuff, which we can't readily identify at the moment, but we're trying to segment. But what we did come up with is this. So again, from the board meeting, our sources basically. Our sources can tell us a lot about where we can put our efforts in. So we know, so let's just go around, so let's start with customer success. Customer success, having 8,000 conversations per year with customers, they have conversations with practitioners, and they have daily use conversations. So that tells us a lot about the functional kind of aspects of our product and what we should be improving. If someone's got a pain point, then we need to try and, in a functional way, we need to remove that because it's adding friction to their process. So that makes that obvious. Sales, 3,000 plus conversations a year, conversations with teams, managers of teams, and strategic conversations. So this is like two sides of the same coin. Customer success will be talking to people actually using the product, whereas sales might be talking more to people who have got the buying power, so the decision makers, DMs they will call them, the people with the purse strings basically. So we have to enable the people that are using it to show these people the value in it. A little bit more difficult in a product sense, but if we think product marketing, then that is maybe a kind of key into getting into the sort of sales sort of quadrant of that circle, if you like. Research exercises, so that's all the logic stuff Anya and Rebecca take care of, and others throughout the business, because obviously we all do research. And again, just to reiterate, focus on the North American market at the moment, because that's where we see our biggest market coming from. Reports, so it was not Gartner even was the one I was talking about before. And Forrester reports, and there's UX and UR industry reports. That's the user research one I think they used for this one. Has everybody seen the Forrester and the Gartner ones?
I haven't seen any.
You've
So
seen
that one that
the Alan
linked, yeah.
So I think there's another one. So we'll get a roundup for them, and I'll share it with everyone, and you can read to your heart's content. So basically, the way I see this working for us is like that. So these three elements, other than the reports may play a part, maybe in weighting they might play a part, or where the industry's going. But I see these three elements specifically as part of a research repository for us, so that we can then make decisions based on an amalgamation of them. We've been a bit guilty, I think, in the past of leaning too heavily in one direction or another. We need to balance it out, I think, and that will happen with the research repository, and that everyone can see, everyone's across, and and obviously Rebecca's got some ideas for that, which I'd love her to explore and get back to us on how she sees it working. That would be amazing. Okay. So I'll look at the next bit, which is improve customer retention, which is, well, it's such a nothing statement that it's really hard to work with, which is why I have a picture of Duck. I was sitting there for ages last night going, what do I have? A duck. But then I had a little bit more of a think about it, and basically the new mystical churn that Mila's coming up with Matt will help. A churn that is more relative to us as a company as opposed to just a one-size-fits-all version of it. So that will help and that will improve, and that's just getting embedded now. So we'll get there with that, I think, and that will help us in the long run. I think qualitative measures will help us. Do you like my talking, Doug?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking I'll have nightmares if the duck ever talk to me about this. There's a new mystical church.
like how I put in italics as well.
Yeah, mystical
Should have had like a smoke bomb. Qualitative measures. So, for instance, think of standardisation. So, we have got the strategic priority, business objective of customer retention. How do we link standardisation to that? Well, in the experiment that me and Mila ran, it's really hard. And talking to Andy, you'll find that really hard. And we tried, and it's hard. So, what other measures can you have that show that you're having a success at doing something? Well, qualitative. If we improve something for the customers, then ask the customers, and they say, yeah, it's improved either by user interviews or in a more kind of higher level. If we use NPS, for instance, or we use some other measurement for how they are feeling about stuff, then we'll get a good feel and a good kind of direction as to which way we should be pointing with the companies, basically. So, in tandem to the quantitative measures, we can use qualitative measures. Of course, it doesn't matter if all our customers are going, yeah, we're really happy, but we've got 3 customers. That's immaterial. So I realise there's got to be a balance, but it's something that we can work on, basically. The last one I thought of was product marketing. So in the demo last week when Alana came in, or Alana was there rather, and Alana was talking about, she got excited about the fact we were working on analysis and started thinking of campaigns just off the top of her head. Sorry, she called it. And she was like, how to gain more insight, and so she started thinking of all these campaigns. We can directly link what we're working on in the product to things that they run as campaigns or use in a kind of advertising sense, if you like. So we can link that way as well. So not only can we do it through product stuff, we can also start to do it with marketing. And I'm hoping if we have a roadmap that we can give to sales, we can do it that way as well, because we can promise things through a level of kind of ambiguity of what we'd like to be working on and get a feel for what people are interested in as well. So I think we can get there. So I don't think it's all going to be duck forever, but it might be for a little while. Okay, so going back to the quarterly kickoff, there was this slide where Andrew talked about how many seats we want and how that relates into actions for the business, if you like. And he was a little worried about this little red figure here, which basically means that everything's down, if you like. The issue is we don't know whether that's because sales are cannibalising a lot of our sales, ironically, or organic sales, or there's some other reason. So again, it's something that we need to be aware of. It's great that we've identified it. What do we do about it? That's a bigger discussion, if you like. So
can you explain that sales thing a bit more? So those figures they're just people saying that, but not stuff that goes through the sales team.
Yeah, I think that's so. When he's saying kind of like new paper studies and things like that, new seats, all that kind of stuff. It's because if you're a paper study, you're not going to hit sales.
Yeah.
You're not going to go there. But if you're on a free and sales start having a conversation with you and you go, oh, actually, I was just going to do an upgrade, but I've had a conversation with you guys and it makes total sense for me to do a team or an enterprise account, then what happens is that's what they mean by it cannibalising that, which it makes it look bad here, but it doesn't kind of matter if sales are making that work. So if they're making that work, how much it is as a long-term onward strategy, who knows? The kind of if SaaS model is people signing up by themselves and organic. That's SaaS model. SaaS model isn't you have a massive sales team that takes over half of Wellington, but you sell to 1 billion. It's just it's not scalable. So it's how you kind of balance the two, if you like, how that organic engine keeps going whilst you can feed or have that enterprise or teams thing ticking along at the same time, if you like. The reason I show this though is because, in my opinion, it's not all doom and gloom. It's not as bad as it looks. It might look bad internally for us, but we are trending upwards, and we trend upwards like most years, in fact every year that we've been in business. So we do have, they call it runway in businesses, I don't know that either. We've got lots of runway. It means that we've got a lot of money coming in, so therefore we've got a lot of time to make changes and to really think about what we should be doing, which is why, again, when I'm drawing it back to the strategic conversation as opposed to just getting stuck in and doing a load of stuff. It's like, it's not going to harm us if we take a couple of weeks to figure out what we really, really want to be doing and make sure we've got it nailed for the next, whatever, month, 2, 3, whatever, before we rethink and have another go at it. I think we're in a good place. I've worked at other companies where it was going the other way, and then you just start doing anything. You just start working really tactically because you're like, if we give them a free pen, will they come? It's like that kind of stuff. It's awful. Like, so we're in a good place, is what I'm trying to say. Right, moving on. I can't see what this slide says, so you're in for supplies and so am I. Themes. Cool. So, themes. Again, this is from Bruce's workshop, rather. And in the board meeting, we introduced all the squads, and this was our introduction. So you might remember this one from the photo on the back of my head. Yeah. So this is when I was looking at it. It's the first time I'd sort of seen it. So basically, just a quick kind of idea of gives you an idea of the vision. Maintaining the core IA solution. Yeah, I'm not happy with that, but and then the 3 things that we're kind of working on at the moment. And we've got GDPR as well, but I didn't put that up as a thing because that's cross-company. So, can anybody think of any problems with anything we're working on at the moment? As in the way we worded what we're working on at the moment?
What improved standardization means? Like, does it mean like auto standardization, or does it mean people understand what it means?
Yeah. Or does it mean the feature, or does it? Yeah.
I'm not really sure. Oh. Okay.
And it doesn't tie directly to a outcome or a goal, like what the purpose of doing that work is for the business.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think I've got issues with that one and probably the last one. The middle one I'm on board with. The theme is good. So a theme should be a customer problem or a stakeholder problem, is what Bruce says in his workshop, and I agree with him. So improve participant experience, that gives us something that's vague enough that we can come to solutions with, as opposed to defining what the solution should be. The last one, I think, is a bit of, that's our kind of issue. No customer's going to come to our tools and go, you know what, if only the value of the subscription, that's our issue. That's something that there's a problem with us. So the way that Bruce talked about it in the workshop, which I thought was really good, and that's why I think this slide was, I think it's Woodify or Wodify? Anybody used that before? I don't even know what it is. Anyway, that one. What used to happen with their roadmap is it was like this. It was all based on solutions, so they just thought solutions, which is really tempting to do when you've got the backlog, 3 backlogs and a backlog over here, because you just find solutions within the backlog that you can work on. What they then moved over to this problem theme kind of thing. So flexible payment options gives you enough room to come up with decent solutions, so you're not kind of telling the answer straight away. You're not going, because what happens with this is, I know as a company we're very susceptible to going wide before we go narrow again. But what this is doing is automatically putting you narrow. recurring invoices, that's boom, solution straight away. Whereas what this does for your roadmap is it allows you to have a little bit of flexibility to understand the issue and the problem before you come to a solution, if you like. So this is why I would like us to go back and just have a quick kind of glance over what we're working on, really, I suppose. And then obviously objective ties into that objective. All these would probably tie into that objective, but that does better because you've got that front of mind whilst you're working on that, basically. So, and I think it's Ellie Rigo, I think her name was, at this Wodify, whatever it's called. And so this is what I'm aiming for, basically, with working on the roadmap over the next sort of coming weeks. And it's we accept that we don't know which specific features we're going to build, and we give the teams the freedom to figure it out. So that's basically where I'm aiming for shortly, is where I want to go, just so everyone's on the same sort of page with that. Okay, and so if we go back to this, is that a feature or a solution? So is it standardization as a feature, is it as a solution? And this isn't a customer pain point. Increasing the value of our scripting is to us. So we're kind of between the two, and it's just, I think we just need to start separating them out a bit. I think it will help us. This one I'm happy with, I'm totally happy with, because that is a theme. That, you know, that's a customer pain point. Customer pain point, if you like. And it has definitely got something that we can look at. If we can decrease the abandonment rates, I understand that, so I'm happy with that. But then we can talk more about this in the sprint break thing, anyway, I was thinking. Okay, right, where are we up to? So talking about retention, so you've got the themes and then what they're directly related to. These are from the board meeting, and this is what Andy is saying are levers that we can use within the sphere of retention, if you like. So frequency, duration, used by more people, and ongoing use. Okay? And again, I'm not going to go through all the little headings, but we can look at that kind of as we go along a bit later. So frequency, the analysis assistance is what I've called our standardization work, because that's what it is. We're helping people analyze. And if you look at the guides and stuff that we're including, it's about, and the overview, the kind of overview page, it's about all of analysis, not necessarily just standardization as a feature. Whether we're talking about that as a feature or solution, don't know. The participant experience will have this frequency of use as well. You can see what the other teams are working on as well. And when I'll share the report, the board meeting slide deck, and you'll be able to see and have questions. And again, I know this is a massive brain dump, so I don't expect you to all come back with questions now. Feel free to have a think about it and come back to me later. That's absolutely fine. So duration of use, encourage use of our paid features. So that's what I turned the subscription one into, because it's a pain point for us. So not necessarily the customer, but for us. Analysis assistance will help people spend longer using our tools as well. Used by more people, GDPR consent. So we're legally, at the moment, we're kind of, we're covering all the legal bases, if you like. So it means that more bigger companies will use us and whatnot. If we have that in the tools, it's the same. So it kind of feeds off one another, if you like. As you can see, that teams in collaboration have got all of that work really, but we're just kind of helping along by getting it in the app, if you like. So it's an important piece of work. So I know GDPR gets, not a bad name, but GDPR gets the what we'll do in hang on a minute, who's looking at it, what this kind of thing, but it is actually really important for us for security and stuff. Ongoing use, you can see that we haven't got anything yet. And if we go back to that circle, there's two main points. Support storage of living artifacts, insights, and passive data collection. Everybody know what Andy means by those two things? So support storage of living artifacts and insights. Let's just take something that we don't work on at the moment, a persona. What happens with a persona? And Sal in the board meeting even said, he said, take a persona for instance. He said persona gets done and then it lives in a drawer forever because it doesn't change. So it becomes a dead artifact. It becomes a moment in time that then nobody wants to use again. So what he said is, imagine a world, he did all that kind of stuff, where the persona is a living artifact and you actually have that linked to, say, your website as a customer, and you can see how people's, how these personas change over time, how buying habits change, or how they act differently, or how they interact with it. So that persona becomes a living, basically a living artifact, and you gain insights from that living artifact is the idea. Which to me seems amazing. Passive data collection.
Yay!
Go on then, Mila. So what would you be doing with passive data collection? Ideas?
It's all of it.
All of it.
Yeah.
Collect everything.
Yeah.
So Mila's going to collect the world. But basically that could help us as well. That could help us have more value, if you like.
With the living artifacts and like the persona, were you talking about how Optimal created those personas and how we are going to make them more?
No, I'm just picking it out of the air as an example of something that Sal was talking about. And not relating it deliberately, not relating it to our products because we haven't really thought about it yet. So at all, in any way, shape or form. So we need to have a good think about how that could work for us, if you like. I think.
Like there was something about archetypes before with Ken.
Oh, archetypes. Yeah. So we're working on that. That's going to help us inform how we work now, rather than this going forward, if you like. And the reason I've scrubbed that out is because Andy's not convinced that ongoing use is so different from duration. And they kind of look the same. And in fact, Andrew said in the quarterly kickoff, well, these two are just the same. And they're not. In our minds, they're not. So he hasn't quite got that. So Andy suggested value while you sleep would be ongoing. I think that's a bit creepy, but could be useful. Basically, Andy's question to us was, can we do better? So that'd be one question for all of us.
Is that value while we sleep or value for our customers while they sleep?
Value for our customers while they sleep, yeah, that's what you mean. Yeah. So ongoing use would be value for you whilst you sleep. It's collecting data, it's helping you, it's got all these endpoints. So, but like I say, it's a bit kind of like, I'm watching you, kind of, I don't like it. So, how does that work in relation back to those horizons? I would suggest that what we're working on at the moment is more kind of frequency and duration stuff, used by more people. GDPR kind of stuff is what we're going to be working on in the sort of near to short-term future. And then the ongoing value stuff is what we're working on later, or what we can have in the back of our mind to start thinking, how much percentage of our time do we give to doing that? As something, as an aspect of what we work on. That's why I really love this, like 3 lumps basically. It's because you can use it in so many different ways. It's great. So expect to see this a lot from me. You'll probably get bored. You'll see a duck walking up those lumps. That's what you're going to be trying. Which brings me. I might go on a little bit after. I'll do it quick. Which brings me on to this bit. And this was really important in Bruce's talk or workshop. It was about the fact that everything changes. And the roadmap, again, is one of those things that you do a persona and you go thanks, and it goes in a drawer. You do a roadmap and you go thanks, and it goes in a drawer. And we have to get away from that. We have to have something that we can help people understand what we're doing, but yet be flexible enough that it can change. So, and I really like that quote, especially because, well, we did IT heavy hitters, so yeah. It's the first thing you hear when you're like, anyway. So, he had a lovely image of the birds that Darwin saw changing over time. So, basically, if it doesn't evolve, it dies. Makes total sense. So, another nice way of showing it. How far should our roadmap go? Well, at the moment we're in quarters, which suggests that we're in the growth stage of our product life. I would suggest that's fine with with the tools, but with some of the things we're thinking of, they're more in the discovery phase, like how do we help people across projects? how do we link the tools together? So they might change on a shorter time scale than what we can do with just the tools, if you like. We can be very, very sort of sure that we can change things in quarters for the tools. Standardization or analysis kind of assistance, as I called it. We can be sure that in a quarter we can probably nail something for that. Other things, optimal talking to TreeJack, don't know. It's discovery, so that might change month to month. We might go, yeah, I reckon in 3 months, and then we might actually go, no, we've done a load of discovery work, 6 months. Or later, or next, or however we want to start discussing those things with the rest of the company. Which brings us on to the last sort of part, which is the disclaimer, which protects you from accusations of broken promises, but also protects your customer, making it clear that change is possible, even likely, and even hopefully get them to accept that that's a good thing. Because you can say, here's all the things we're thinking of working on, they go brilliant, and then at least they've got some idea of what you're doing, rather than just being in the dark for 3 years, reframer, and then going, ta-da! Yeah, so. This is this is why I included this slide, because it's one piece I really liked, which is confidence. So what Bruce talks about in his workshop is giving a confidence level to your roadmap. So I've never really seen it before. So obviously this is like a normal roadmap that everyone's seen, but then adding this to it means that you can say, yeah, this is something we could share with sales. Yep. Q2 2017, we're doing a learning indicator, but we're only 25% sure that that is going to be the thing we work on. So there's 75% doubt there that we might not even get onto that. But it's something we're thinking of at the moment, and it gives sales confidence to talk in a way to our possible clients or customers, and it gives them something. If you've ever worked with any other sales teams love roadmaps because it means that they can sell it to especially enterprise sort of style people. So, and it holds us to account as well, which is a good thing. It's not a bad thing that we're getting held to account. Some people in product will be like, no, I'm not giving you deadlines. I'm not going to. It's the total antithesis of the way you should work. You should have deadlines, but you should have confidence, and you should have themes, and you should have all these extra things that help back up the work that you're working on, so that people aren't so worried so much about the fact that you did 10,000 lines of code. They're more worried about the fact that you've delivered value to the customer, and they can see that through the themes you're working on. So I'm totally on board with the way Bruce wants to work with this kind of stuff. Cool. So, I'm nearly done actually. So what next? Spring break and more stuff I didn't cover. I did look. This is where I was looking for an image. I was like, I'll put an image on. So if we look at what I didn't cover, that's why I got Homer Simpson in there. So although we have those 5 elements, there's a secondary and complementary aspect to that I'd like us to look at as well over the spring break. So things like target customers and that kind of stuff, and how we can look at them. So other methods that could add insight. So this is when you're talking about the archetypes that has been worked on. I'd like to resurface them and see if there's something we can get out of that. Journey maps, and user maps across the product, but journey maps across everything. We have got a journey map for getting to the buying decision. I don't know if that's where that's gone or what that's up to, but hopefully we can get one that kind of links it all together. How it all sits together is what I'd like to work on, how we gather the inputs, how we then organise and prioritise, and then how we actually get to that planning stage, how we do that, I'd like to work on that. The math, as he calls it, is how you figure out which parts to work on first, which is the bit I think we're lacking a little bit at every kind of stage. And it's a really good way of doing it, so we'll do a workshop on that definitely, so that we can all get our heads around how it works. Getting buy-in, that's both in the company and without the company, so getting buy-in from the customers and also getting buy-in from what we'll call them now, units, chapters, or who people who we work with, other squads even, and presenting and sharing it internally and externally is what I'd love us to get to. I'd love us to get to a point where we are sharing that roadmap with people internally and externally, and allowing things like sales to use it as a sales tool. That would be amazing. It's like we should hang our hat on things we can do. I think we should be confident. The other thing we need to look at is backlog. That's why I've got a crying Nicolas Cage there. So we've got the backlog, and the sprint thing currently. let's look at that, and just as I'm saying, let's look at the charter and whether we're okay with that and the V2 and everything. Let's indeed look at how we work, how we not only the product kind of roadmap and strategy, the project management, how we manage what we're doing, if you like, and looking at all those different aspects of it, lean UX, design thinking, and agile, and how they all sit together, and what we can cherry pick from everything to get to a better state with how we work. I've run out of these, so let's just carry on. So one last thing. That's why I included Columbo. Do you know Columbo?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. And he always says at the end of his thing, one last thing, and then he tells them why he knows that he's the murderer. Right. And I think that is all.